What's up, my people? Welcome back to Vertical Football. Welcome back to another episode of the Manchester United Fans Corner. I'm your host, Shegun. And guys, it's Monday. A lot of talk about Manchester United. As usual, Manchester United, we have to discuss a lot of things. A lot of things are going on in the club that we have to discuss. First and foremost, we're going to be discussing Ruben Amorim and the board, what's going on in that relationship. Then secondly, we're going to be discussing the January transfer window. What do we expect from Manchester United in January transfer window? And what do you think we're going to even get? Are we going to get anybody? Are we not going to get anybody? If we're going to get somebody, who should that person be? So, a lot of discussions. So, guys, let's jump right into Manchester United. And let's jump right into the first of all, a question we have been asking for months now. Anytime the question of formation change, whether from 3-4-3 to 4-2-3-1 or 4-3-3, there's a particular question we need to ask ourselves. Because sometimes I believe in the world of football, there's this trap we are constantly jumping into in the world of football where whenever it's not going well, we automatically focus our attention on the manager or the head coach and the players. And we don't do enough scrutiny at the people in the boardrooms, people making the decisions, right? Because it's just as if sometimes we have managers that decisions are being forced on them, right? As we saw in the case of Chelsea, but the manager has to now even take the burden and they will even now lose their job. Whereas the decisions are made for them to lose their job was not a decision that was even made by them, right? So let's talk about Manchester United and Amorim with the board. Now, first question I always ask, you guys know, people that have been watching us for a long time know I will always ask, at what point did we decide we were going to get Ruben Amorim as the next Manchester United manager after Erik ten Hag? And the moment they decided, that's the board, Ratcliffe, Wilcox, Berada, the moment they decided that this guy in Sporting, this guy in Lisbon is the next person for us, is the right man for us. And if you remember clearly, when they decided that decision they made, Berada flew, based on report, flew directly to Amorim in Sporting and said, we want you. Clearly, there were not much interviews. They said they have gotten their man. They went straight to Lisbon. And based on report, the guy said, you want me? I'm flattered. But there are certain conditions based on report. Now, if you want me, everything you see that is good in me, that you like as a manager, the style of play, the approach to the game and everything, is encased in a 3-4-3 formation. So if you want me, you must want my 3-4-3 formation. It's okay. This club is used to playing a back four. But this is a special guy that we want. Okay, we are willing to say, bring your brand of football to United. And we are willing to fund it. They say, okay, we know that 3 at the back will mean that we have to buy players that are suitable for the system. Based on report, okay, we'll buy those players. And they say, okay, come to Manchester United. So, when you made that decision, because 80% of the football managers in the world, if I'm not mistaken, or even more, play back four. 80%, at least 80% play back four. Only 20% of managers are playing with a back three. So why did we neglect the numerous managers that could play a back four easily for us? And why did we go to a manager that is playing a 3 at the back? Remember, Liverpool came for this same guy, based on reports. And the guy said, if you want me, you want my 3-4-3. And you have to spend so amount to get players for my system. And Liverpool say, we've counted the costs. We can't take this project. And they left. But United said, we will take the project. Knowing the costs, that the style of play is going to be different from from the players you have available. And they know that they have to buy players for the system. They agreed. Now, what exactly has happened? You've not bought players for the system. You've not finished even the spine of the team. And you're now saying change to a back four. And I asked a question that time. If you remember that episode, I'm asking that question now. Are we serious as a club? It's still the same question. Are we serious as a club? Are we ambitious as a club? Now, we're beginning to hear reports. And the reports we're going to hear, we're beginning to see that the commentary, the reactions of people like Gary Neville, Carragher, is part of what is and social media is part of what is influencing the decision of the board to say, turn back to a back four. The question now is our progression as a club, having made a decision to stick to go and get a manager will be back three? Is our progression as a club that dependent on Gary Neville's analysis and Carragher's analysis? These two guys are talking about, they can't coach their left from their rights. They've never had a successful managerial career. They have no skin in the game. They get paid to say whatever they say. Whether it's factual or not, they get paid. Analysis is not a game where you get paid if you are factual. Just have an opinion. And many a times it looks as if the more perverse or the more irritating the analysis, the higher you get paid. Also, it's our philosophy, our progression, our vision 2028 as a United side to win the Premier League by 2028. Is it going to be dependent on a few content creators who can't handle a tactical board? Is it going to be dependent on them? When they say, oh, back three cannot work, it's a back four. It's just a back four that can work. Is our philosophy going to be dependent on that? And if it shows us that we are a team with a board that instead of going for the normal back four coach, there were options. Instead of going for the normal back four coach, you decided to go for a back three coach. And now, because of social media reactions and little legend talk here and there, you decide to change your plan, your philosophy. It shows our bodies directionless and spineless. It shows nobody forced you on Amorim. Nobody said Amorim was the main man. Even the options that were coming up, Amorim was not even among the top options. You guys decided to go for him because you have done your own work. And you accepted a back three manager. Now, do the needful. Don't want to do the needful. Now, let's go to another talking point that people usually have when we talk about these things. And people like begin to say, when they went for a manager, they did not say you should play back three. The fact is, that analysis doesn't make sense. Who is a manager? What is a manager? A manager is two major things, right? It's philosophy and it's system. That's what a manager is. So when you are going, it's not like you are going for Pep. And you see Pep, when you go for Pep, as I said that time, you are going for Pep with his pattern of play and with the formation that exhibits the pattern of play. That's what you are going for. So it doesn't make sense. And the guy told you, Amorim told them, if you are coming for me, you are coming my system. Liverpool walked away. We did not walk away. So that idea of is the manager they want. The manager is the philosophy and the system. Everybody that understands the game understands that. Right? It's not like saying you are going for a Sondage, but you are saying a Sondage should not play his 4-4-1-1 or his formation that allows him, to have a low block or to allow him to play the game the way he wants to play it. The fact is that nobody is going to force Sondage on you. The moment you decide to go for a Sondage, you should expect what a Sondage brings. So the question also is that the moment you went for Ruben Amorim, you should expect what a Ruben Amorim brings. Now, promises were obviously made to Amorim. We've seen the reports that the board counted the cost about the number of players they would have to bring in to suit the system, right? So they analyzed that. That's okay. We're moving from a traditional back four to a three at the back. And we know we're going to buy players for the system. Now, the question is, why haven't you gotten the players for the system? Or why are you, as it appears in the media, why are you unwilling to buy players for the system? And funny enough, when I begin to hear people say, the reason why they don't want to buy players for the system is because if they buy players for the system now, when the new manager comes on board, they will now have to start buying that player for the system. The fact is that when the new manager also comes, they will say, because he's losing a number of games, we cannot buy player for the system. We want to keep money to buy player for the next manager. The cycle continues. It doesn't make sense. We are looking for midfielders now. The midfielders we are looking for are not midfielders that have even played. The two midfielders we are talking about on this platform are not midfielders that play in a 3-4-3 system. Right? So whether you're getting Baleba, for example, you're getting Elliot Anderson, even if you sack the manager, the midfielders can still be valuable in a 4-3-3 system or a 4-2-3-1 system. You've done your analysis. These midfielders can still fit in a 4-2-3-1 system. So the buying midfielders It's not based on the system you are playing. This team need midfielders. This team has always need midfielders for years. I've explained, I done the analysis out the fact that we have invested the least in midfielders. Does the system we are playing now determine whether we are going for midfielders or not? Whether we are playing 4-3-3, 3-4-3, we need midfielders. Another thing that I think I need to expatiate on, because I think I need to explain on some things that I'm hearing that doesn't really make sense. And I think we have to analyze it together. When you say that the manager, if you buy a player for a particular system, when a new manager comes, they need to buy a player for that new manager. You have to understand the way transfer works in the modern game. It's not as if the manager says, I want Baleba. Go and get Baleba. No. This same board, the sporting director, the scouting team, play a major role in identifying the targets. So the way it should work is the club should have a philosophy of an idea of how they want to play football, a philosophy of football. The club should have. And when they say, okay, this is our philosophy. These are the players we want to get for that philosophy. Okay, you want a midfielder. But these are the players we feel are good for you based on the profile that we believe you need. The manager, out of maybe 3 or 4 options, the manager chooses one. So it's not as if the manager says, get me Baleba. Baleba or Anderson, if you look at the details and look at the reports, Baleba and Anderson were players that were scouted by the scouting department hired by the board. So it's not as if Amorim says, I need this player, and the board says, because if we sign this player now and we sack you, we would have to now look for, you understand? Look for a way to, to let this player go, bring in a new manager. Then the fact is the board can veto it. But the way it looks is that Baleba and Anderson have not been vetoed by the board. And these guys can play Nottingham Forest, Brighton, don't play a 3-4-3 system as we speak. So the whole idea of keeping money for that manager doesn't make sense. This team, regardless of our system, regardless of the manager, needs a midfielders. Let's not lie to ourselves. And if the club is not willing to go and get midfielders in January, it's not about Amorim and the system. Packed in one side. It's about a lack of ambition. It's about a lack of ambition. We've analyzed a lot of games this season. Now let's come to Amorim. Let's come to Amorim. We've analyzed a lot of games this season where we see that, our defense leaks goals, right? Before this season, we found out that we could not score goals, right? That was the issue we had. We could not score goals. Now we went ahead, we got Buemo, who has had a distinctive, good, decent season so far before he went for the AFCON, decent season. We have Koua. He has his own deficiencies, but we can see that he's beginning to enter the flow of giving us goals gradually, right? Gradually. Especially after the boys went for the AFCON, he's beginning to show us, yes, you can analyze Koua and see there are deficiencies in his game. We need goals. We solve the goals by at least getting those players, attacking players who got Sesko, who also is still trying to get up to the level we think he can get up to. Now, we say we are leaking goals. And we know our midfield, as they said, Fulham manager said something, that the midfield, and Vivel sent it to the group and said, they said they are overloading our midfield, they are dragging us out of position, it's predictable. And the fact is, that was in August, right? A lot of the games we played after that time, we have actually had moments where our midfield dominated the midfield of 3. If we have been honest with ourselves, this analysis. Yes, the midfield has its deficiency because when Casemiro gets tired, the midfield drops. So even if you are sending as the veil, even if you are sending that into the group, it shouldn't be about the system. Haven't we thought about it that why not we get midfielders first for this guy and see whether we still have those situations? Because I don't know about you guys, I've seen matches this season where we dominated teams and we played against teams that have 3 in the midfield. We played them. Yeah, maybe the result did not really show that maybe sometimes we drew those games, but we actually imposed ourselves. Sometimes it was when Casemiro now leave that our midfield now drops. Right? So haven't we, when Vivel is saying it, haven't we also thought that maybe it's not the system? Maybe it's the fact that we don't have the right profiles to play the system. Why don't you buy the midfielders? Buy the midfielders and then see You're using a midfield of Bruno Casemiro. Bruno is normally an attacking midfielder. Casemiro is trying. Those legs are not there. So it's not just about the system. Sometimes we have to look, because a lot of things I've seen in this, I try to analyze, and I try to be objective in my analysis. And sometimes